Ready?
10 years ago, using your mind to heal your body was considered a radical idea.
Grandmother was right. Things as ephemeral as a thought can help you heal.
Now, a new breed of doctors and researchers are moving the mind-body connection into the mainstream, changing people's lives.
It's been very powerful for me.
And altering healthcare as we know it.
Every single patient should be informed that the mind has a huge impact on the body.
Explore the healing power of the mind. Next on The New Medicine.
Major funding provided by WebMD. WebMD, helping millions of visitors every month to discover the link between better information and better health. WebMD.
Additional major funding is provided by the George Family Foundation, the David and Laura Lovell Foundation, the Christy and John Mack Foundation, the Bernard Osher Foundation, Fannie E. Ripple Foundation, William Sarnoff, the Ronald A. and Victoria Mann Sims Foundation, Ruth Stricker and Bruce B. Dayton, and by these funders, Wyeth, the Globe Foundation, and by
Hello, I'm Dana Reeve. For over a decade, the world of medicine has been a large part of my life. First because of my husband, Christopher Reeve's spinal cord injury, and now because of my own medical challenges. I've been diagnosed with lung cancer and I'm undergoing treatment. Illness, alas, is a great teacher. And one of the things I've learned is that the process of healing involves both the body and the mind. Your emotional state has a tremendous amount to do with sickness, health, and well-being. For years, my husband and I lived on and because of hope. Hope continues to give me the mental strength to carry on. But also, I'm convinced hope very directly influences my physical health. Doctors know this, of course, but they're wary about how to apply it to the practice of medicine. For many physicians, this kind of thinking sounds new agey, and they view it with suspicion. Doctors speak the language of science, and quite rightly demand proof that a treatment is effective. It's hard to measure the effect of a feeling like hope on the human body. That is, until very recently. In this program, you're going to meet some very hard-nosed scientists who are doing groundbreaking studies of this mind-body connection. They are proving, in the language of science, that our emotional state, thoughts and feelings, has an enormous influence on physical phenomena like pain, healing, and even our ability to fight off infection. We're calling these programs The New Medicine. What's new is an appreciation among medical researchers that we are one complex, interconnected organism, and to heal involves treating the mind, the body, and the spirit.
When I was a young medical student, I viewed the mind-body connection with great skepticism, and I did, as most of my very biologically based colleagues, distanced myself as much as possible from notions that stress could make you sick, that believing can make you well. We couldn't understand in scientific terms how something like a thought, we don't even know what a thought is, how could that affect something as concrete as health?
Talk about bias, boy, was I biased against this stuff. I didn't believe it. That's just not within my framework of how I used to think about the universe.
Listen to their voices as they speak to you. Hear them laughing.
As I looked into it, and actually became involved myself in doing some of these techniques, I remember the reaction of some of the clinical chairs at Duke in an email, "Snyderman, you've finally gone over the edge."
Until recently,
Studying the connection between the mind and the body was viewed with suspicion by scientists. For them, this was the world of spiritualists and quacks. Today, we're beginning to understand the complex biology of how the mind interacts with the body. How something as intangible as hope can help you heal.
It says here, the average unmarried female, basically insecure, due to some long frustration, may react with psychosomatic symptoms difficult to endure, affecting the upper respiratory tract. In other words, just from waiting around for that plain little band of gold, a person can develop a cold.
There's always been a strong belief in popular thinking that emotions can make you sick. Grandma would tell us that someone was sick with worry and could even die from a broken heart.
You can feed her all day with the vitamin A and the bromo fizz, but the medicine never gets anywhere near where the trouble is. If she's getting a kind of a name for herself and the name ain't his, a person can develop a core.
Well, it turns out grandmother was right, and we now understand why and how things as ephemeral as a thought, as stress, as belief, can actually, on the one hand, make you sick or can help you heal.
This link between emotion and disease could be a matter of life and death. Tammy Patton has just been admitted to Duke Medical Center. In the 25th week of her pregnancy, she is facing a crisis.
I'll be 26 tomorrow. You think she'll make it to 27?
Can never predict. I've seen some miracles happen up here. Seriously.
Well, I'm looking for one of those.
Her water has broken prematurely, and now, unprotected by the fetal membrane, Tammy's unborn child is in great danger of contracting a deadly infection.
How is that for you? You're 24 weeks.
Dr. Tracy Gaudet is an obstetrician at Duke.
Everything from my chest on down just locked up.
Okay.
I never even had a clue that my water would be breaking or anything like that.
No, right, when you're like months and months away from your due date. Sure.
My fear, the worst case scenario in this situation is that Tammy does deliver at this point in her pregnancy and the baby doesn't survive, or the baby survives but is severely, severely damaged and will never live a normal life.
Right there.
Every day actually makes a difference in the chances that this baby has.
Okay, the baby's kicking. So yeah, I'm doing good.
And we know that stress, especially chronic stress, sitting in the hospital week after week after week, that negatively impacts the body's immune system. So the last thing we want to do is have a weakened immune system when what you're trying to prevent is infection.
Yeah.
Tammy is receiving the best modern medicine has to offer, including bed rests and a course of antibiotics.
See you later. Okay, hon.
But despite this, almost all women in her situation go into labor within 1 week.
Now, here you are, right? And the plan is that you will be here until this baby is born. So we're basically saying, okay, you lie here, Tammy, and just relax, right? Don't worry about anything. Don't get out of bed. Don't walk around. Don't do anything.
For Tammy, nothing can be more stressful than lying immobilized in bed, torn away from her daily life, her job, her husband Eugene, and her 12-year-old son Mark. This stress can severely compromise her ability to fight off infection.
I mean, how have you been coping with that so far?
I try to figure out, okay, what am I going to do with Mark? What am I going to do with my house? What am I going to do with my job? What am I going to do with everybody, you know, that depends on me at this point in time?
You know, we know that there is a very significant relationship between the level of someone's stress and the onset of labor. That's been well documented. And yet, bizarrely, we have never looked at stress reduction as an intervention. It just seems like a no-brainer.
Okay, so I'll walk you through it. Okay. If you want to close your eyes, it's easier that way. You breathe in first through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Hold it.
Tammy is about to receive a new, and for Western medicine, a revolutionary form of therapy.
And then hold the breath.
Dr. Godet will teach her stress reduction techniques to delay the onset of labor and also to boost her immune system. We now understand that there's a complex biochemical link between stress, the immune system, and illness. When we're stressed, the brain causes the release of chemicals which go through the bloodstream and activate the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands, in turn, give the body a shot of some very potent hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. Both give us a boost of energy, highly useful for survival. But when the stress is continuous and unremitting, cortisol continues to be released into the bloodstream. One of the side effects of cortisol is to suppress the activity of our immune system, leaving us vulnerable to infection and disease. Lower the stress, and you lower the risk of infection. For Tammy, every day that she avoids infection and premature labor increases her baby's chances for survival.
Isn't that nice? Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like this nice little thing. The beauty of some of what we're going to do is around visualization, is that your body will actually respond to what's in your mind.
Right.
Like if you've ever been on vacation, you've been in a great situation, but your mind is actually going over the stressors, your body would be stressed and tense. Mm-hmm. And so this is the opposite. This is like, okay, you're in a stressful situation, but we can help your mind take a little vacation and be nice. Someplace else.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it is that both your mind gets the benefit as if you actually were someplace else, and your body does too. Like if we were monitoring your blood pressure and your heart rate and different stress markers, when we do the visualization, the body responds just as if it were there.
My hope is that that those tools and those approaches help her stay centered, stay sane, and that they will actually help her physiologically.
Is let an image come to mind. A place where you feel completely at ease, happy to be there.
It'll help her immune system to function better. It'll help her stress response to stay at a low point so her stress hormones are not coursing through her veins and, getting her ready to go into labor.
It's warm, but it's cool breeze.
That's great. And do you hear any sounds in this place?
No, it's just fairly quiet. Oh, there's a balcony.
Okay, balcony.
There's a TV.
Okay.
Tammy is one of the very few women in a high-risk pregnancy situation getting a course of stress reduction. Modern medical culture focuses on drugs and surgery. Most doctors don't see these mind-body interventions as part of the practice of real medicine. It wasn't always so. From the time of the ancient Greeks, pre-scientific medicine made a direct connection between our emotions and our physical health. This all began to change during the Renaissance, when people started to dissect cadavers and see the physical effect of disease on the organs of the body.
In that period, it came to be understood that disease was associated with abnormalities of anatomy. If you died from a pneumonia and you opened up the lungs of the person who died, you saw that there were holes and there was pus and there was all sorts of abnormalities of anatomy.
Emotions and their effects on the body mystified medical researchers.
Because you couldn't see it. If you can't see it, it isn't real. If you can't understand how it works, it isn't real. That was the assumption.
Researchers didn't have the tools to see the biological connection of emotions to physical illness. Emotions were relegated to a different specialty. By the 20th century, the split between mind and body was complete and became an article of medical orthodoxy.
Is that okay? Okay.
In the last few decades, we've developed sophisticated tools to actually see the physical changes in the body caused by the mind. Ironically, modern experimental discoveries have led us back to the ancient idea that emotions are inextricably linked to our physical health.
There are so many clues that the mind has an effect on the body at all distant sites.
Nerves link the mind to the heart, the immune system, the digestive tract, and directly or indirectly to every cell in the body.
And with neuroimaging, with brain imaging, with molecular biology, cell biology, physiology, we can put all the pieces of the puzzle together, which we certainly couldn't do even just a few decades ago. We can understand through the language of science that emotions and disease are connected. And disturbances of emotions can change your physical health, and physical disease can change your emotional health.
Today, the federal government, through the National Institutes of Health, is giving substantial support to mind-body research.
Hey, Glazer.
The husband and wife team of Janice Keycolt Glazer and Ronald Glazer has performed a series of experiments dramatically demonstrating the effect of emotions on our health. Their groundbreaking work, funded by the NIH, is on wound healing.
Oliver Wendell Holmes in the 1860s, he'd observed that wounds for soldiers who had been victorious were much more likely to survive certain kinds of wounds than those who'd been beaten. It was a wonderful example of just how powerful stress and wound healing can be.
And I'm just going to feel like a little pressure here.
In one of the Glazer's experiments, small wounds are deliberately given to two sets of volunteers. One group is family caregivers of Alzheimer's patients. These are people who are under constant and enormous stress. The other group, matched in age and financial circumstances, has measurably lower levels of stress.
We have the caregivers, and we have very well matched control people who are at the same age and so on, but who aren't caregiving. That's the design of the study.
The nurse takes a little instrument that creates a little wound about smaller than the size of a pencil eraser, a standardized small wound about 1/8 of an inch thick. And then what we did was we photographed the wound over time, so we could watch the shrinkage of the wound and compare that to a standardized dot and get a sense for exactly how fast the wound was shrinking.
The results of these and similar experiments are remarkable. On the average, the wounds of the unstressed group healed a full 9 days sooner than the highly stressed group.
It was a huge difference.
The hormones released when we're stressed interfere with the complex biochemistry of healing. How quickly we heal is affected by our state of mind, particularly our level of stress. Today, Michael Goulin is facing major surgery.
I have a degenerative disc disease in my bottom 2 discs, and I've had back problems for like 15 years. They're replacing the 2 bottom lumbar discs.
The small wounds which the Glazers create in their experiments heal much faster under lower stress. Studies suggest that the same is true for the large wounds we receive when undergoing major surgery.
I'm really hopeful that this was going to change my life, and so let's hope.
For the last week, Michael has been preparing himself for this operation. Preparing his mind.
A patient is wheeled in, and you look over, surprised but not surprised to see that it is you. You watch as the team surrounding you works over you, and perhaps they even express surprise at how well things are going, at how easy it is to do what's needed.
I guess they're trying to get in your subconscious that the surgery is being done by people who are, who are knowledgeable, and there's nothing to worry about, essentially. It's reassurance also.
And you can see with a kind of detached interest that this is an operating room, and that busy, capable staff people are preparing it for someone. A team of competent, trustworthy collaborators, readying the equipment.
I actually listened to this morning at like 5:30 in the morning, and it definitely helps you, relax you. She says, think of yourself as being in a peaceful, safe, and secure place where you're happy.
Think of a happy place.
Exactly. First time I listened to that, I had to actually pause it and think hard.
The CD was supplied to Michael free of charge from a surprising source. His insurance company, Blue Shield of California.
When I first heard about guided imagery, I was intrigued by the studies that I had looked at, some preliminary studies. But then again, I've had the scientific training, so it was like, show me the proof.
Blue Shield conducted a trial that produced remarkable results. Significantly shorter hospital stays and lower medication expenses for the patients who practiced guided imagery before surgery. For the price of a $17 CD, the company saved, on the average, $2,000 per surgery.
The benefits were startling to us from a financial perspective. In spite of some initial doubts that this is a little bit flaky, a little bit too California for some people, it didn't turn out to be that way at all.
How are you?
Okay.
Good. Wiggling your feet? Good. Sometimes it works.
When studies like this get communicated, it changes the way people view how they practice medicine, or from a member point of view, what they should expect from how medicine is practiced.
Tammy Patton has been in the hospital for 17 days. She's been practicing her relaxation techniques. She shows no signs of infection.
Wow. Got his hands against his face.
I know. He just looks like he has a strong personality. He'll do exactly what he wants to do.
These 17 days have given her baby a much better chance for survival.
If we could get the same results with a pill or a medicine that we could put in an IV bag as we could with many of these mind-body approaches, it would be mainstreamed in a heartbeat. But it's because, in part, it lies outside of our paradigm of what we think medicine is and what we think is powerful, that it's taken it's a much more difficult thing to integrate. It is crazy.
This is the right corner artery.
Every single patient should be informed that the mind has a huge impact on the body, and here are ways that you can take advantage of that. But it's not. We got a long way to go.
Treating the mind and the body as separate entities is deeply ingrained in our culture.
And this is one of the things that drives me crazy, okay? Kid has abdominal pain. They go to the gastroenterologist, they get scoped, they get blood tests, they get everything under the sun. We can't find anything, therefore you're a head case, right?
In his rounds with hospital residents, Dr. Gary Welko, a specialist in pediatric pain, drives home the message that there is no mind-body split.
What we want to get away from is dichotomizing. And if you get nothing out of your experience with me this month, nothing other than the following statement, I'll be happy. If you dichotomize pain as being either physiological or psychological, you're dumb. Does that work? Mm-hmm. Questions, comments? Come on.
Dealing with chronic pain is a major problem in medicine today.
Yes. Are these the spots where you tend to get sore?
Yeah.
Billions of dollars are spent trying to treat it by conventional means,
That hurts.
often ineffectively.
Which of these words describe your pain? Stinging?
No.
Fearful?
Yes.
Sharp?
This is where mind-body techniques are showing impressive results.
Horrible?
Yes.
Is there ever a time it's not there?
No.
Okay. So I underline always 3 times there. No breaks. Okay.
For months, 13-year-old Helene has been suffering from constant, often excruciating pain.
She started out with headaches, her bone aches, and overwhelming fatigue.
Missing school and competitive sports, she spends her days at home alone. Dr. Wolko sees many young patients with these symptoms, unexplained bone aches and chills. He suspects Helene's pain developed from symptoms that continued after she had recovered from a mild flu-like illness.
All right, so now let's go back and listen to what you've told me about you. Extremely often, pain is preceded by some low-grade illness. And that goes away, and then a few weeks later is when the pain begins.
These pain signals, nerves firing in the body and the brain, do not go away. But for reasons that nobody understands, they intensify over time. Wolko's treatment goal is to turn off those pain messages.
And we teach kids specific strategies to help them affect their pain and change their pain. We work really hard with you to get back to your normal lifestyle. Now what you're going to say to me is, well, that's fine, I'm willing to do that, I'm just in too much pain. Right? Well, what's stopping you from playing field hockey right now? What's stopping you from playing soccer?
My pain.
So as soon as the pain goes away,
I'll play.
Matthew Potter is an 18-year-old high school student with cerebral palsy, which affects coordination and muscle tone.
Oh, great, of course.
Oh, this looks familiar.
So you get to see my driving skills in action.
Matthew can look forward to a long life, but until now, it has been a life filled with constant and, on occasion, terrible pain.
we're going to build a fun image. So give me an image of something that you like to do that you find relaxing, pleasant, the opposite of pain.
Playing video games with a bunch of my friends. Just a whole big, everybody's around laughing and, just having a great time, just moving it up.
Okay. What we're going to do is a couple things.
In a typical 1-hour session, Wolko first relaxes his patients and then puts them into a hypnotic state.
Completely. Now listen very, very carefully. You're at home and you're with your friends and there's a whole group hanging out to play some Xbox. And the specific game is going to be Halo 2. Take a moment and focus on the screen on the TV.
I see that we're checking everybody's score to see who's in the lead.
Listen to their voices as they speak to you. Hear them laughing and carrying on. And knowing you and your friends, I'm sure there's a fair amount of ribbing that's going on and people sort of making fun of each other.
All the time.
Good. And of course, since this is your image, you're totally in the lead, leaving the other guys in the dust. And you might even notice some of the scents, the smells in the room. And notice how good it feels to be immersed in such a pleasant, pleasant situation. Early on in my career, I worked mostly with kids with cancer who are undergoing invasive procedures like lumbar puncture, spinal taps.
Okay, Kelsey, the water's coming.
Kids were pretty traumatized.
Brave girl. You have to stay really still, and then it will be over in a
I'm going to
minute.
hold you quite so tightly, okay?
So it used to take 5 or 6 people to do a procedure, and it was one to do the procedure, one to assist, and 4 people to hold the child down. So it's kind of gruesome. We started to look for alternatives. Like, are there ways that you can really work with kids to make that more bearable?
Dr. Wolko started teaching his patients self-hypnosis techniques to tune down their pain.
And lo and behold, we found that there was a group of kids who could literally use hypnosis and go through the experience without a lot of distress at all.
It's out?
Yep.
All pain, no matter what its source, is experienced in the mind and can be modulated by the mind. We see this happening all the time in the world of sports. In the heat of the game, athletes often seem completely oblivious to pain. Here we see Donovan McNabb playing the entire second half of a football game, so focused on winning that he isn't aware that he's just broken his ankle. Hypnosis is a technique that harnesses this ability of the mind to focus intensely.
Take a nice deep breath through your nose. Notice how it feels when the cool, dry air goes into your lungs. Just focus as you breathe in and out, in and out. Matt, are you in any pain or discomfort right now?
Some, but not nearly as much as when we started.
Let's see if we can reduce it even more. And nerves are basically like electric wires. They carry impulses, they carry messages. And right where those nerves connect, I want you to see very clearly that there's a switch. In fact, it's a dimmer switch. And what I'd like you to do is turn the dimmer switch down so that less of that pain message is getting through to your spinal cord. All of the tension goes out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
Details, please. The exclamation's fine.
That's something. It definitely worked. I mean, I was aware of, you know, everything that was going on, but it was kind of hazy, and I was more focusing on my body. And then as soon as I really started that dimmer switch, I could actually feel less and less of a reaction from those nerves and those muscles.
Outstanding.
Unbelievable.
So you got to know that all we did today was the basics.
Wow.
All pain is physical and psychological. That's the nature of pain. We can see this in the brain's reaction to a pain stimulus. One center localizes it, but another center, the emotional center, is just as important. It tells us how distressing the pain is, which motivates us to take action. Patients suffering from chronic pain experience great frustration because they can do nothing to control it. Their mental distress makes the physical pain worse.
Small things. You can't turn the doorknob. I can't open the cap in a soda bottle. You can't lift a fork.
The University of Maryland's Kernan Hospital organizes weekly sessions with a group of outpatients suffering from rheumatoid arthritis.
You hit all the fear. Am I going to be, a senior citizen that just can't move? Do I have to have somebody to take care of me all the time? I had a 2-year-old. I couldn't pick him up. I am a mom. I am supposed to be able to pick up my son. And it was very difficult for me because I had to come to terms with a different idea. And that's it. That's the change for me. It was a big one.
To help manage their rheumatoid arthritis, these patients are taking powerful medications. But equally important are the skills they're learning here to control the emotional component of the pain.
I'm going to lead you on a short meditation.
The group practices mindfulness meditation, focusing on their breathing, and therefore on the here and now. This technique will lessen the fear and anxiety associated with their pain.
If somebody has a particular problem like a chronic pain, chronic back pain, let's say, instead of just reacting to that pain, like, they wake up and there's the pain and just saying, oh, it's going to be another terrible day and it's always like this, and it triggers a whole set of thoughts in that person and emotions. If they have learned some of the mindfulness meditation approaches, it gives them a chance to take a step back, to actually reflect for a moment and not just to react, but to choose their pattern of reacting. Eventually you realize that the pain is one thing from the physical problem, but it's the emotions and the mental suffering that you actually can have some control over.
It's really not worth it to spend so much energy worrying about the future or lamenting the past, because it really makes things worse.
Well, that's the whole idea of breathing, isn't it? I mean, when you concentrate on your breathing is right now. You can't concentrate on your past breath or your future breath. When you breathe, it's your right now. And that's why mindfulness brings you to your now, to your awareness of your present moment. I'm here with you. It's been very powerful for me. It's hard to put into words. It's been really hugely powerful for me.
Doctors in major medical centers, 1 in 5 across the country, including Harvard, Duke, and the Mayo Clinic, have begun integrating these techniques with more conventional medical care.
And the next in-breath will be raising up.
There are many different ways of harnessing the power of the mind to heal the body.
Meditation, yoga, exercise, prayer. Meditation may relax me, but may do nothing for you. You may prefer to read a book or lie on the beach. No one way works for all people, and no one way works for any one individual at all times in our life.
You think that at the beginning that your first couple of weeks, that, okay, we're going by pretty quick and this is going to happen. But the third week,
3 weeks in the hospital, and Tammy Patton is having a difficult time.
you can watch all the TV in the world. There's nothing really that interesting on it. We don't have any visitors. Everybody in the real world is working. I can't help my husband, and he's working overtime because I'm no longer working. And he has to pay the bills, take care of Mark, then come and see me to make sure I don't get crazy up here. And so there's a lot of stress on him as well. And you're just stuck in this one place, in this bed, all day long. It seems like the room just gets smaller and smaller.
It's completely expected for her to hit a low point. The rough spots come. It's not like if you do this all right, you won't have a rough spot. Just let an image come to mind. Any place you'd like it to be. I think there's a tendency to think that, oh, it's really in the technology and this other stuff is just touchy-feely and, just to kind of appease people. It's where we're very wrong. And as we understand, I think, the science behind a lot of these approaches, including mind-body approaches, then we will really begin to understand that they are every bit as powerful as the technology that we've come to rely on and trust in. Just take your time. It's a big shift.
At the Keck Laboratory at the University of Wisconsin, Dr. Richard Davidson has sophisticated tools to actually look inside people's brains as they experience different emotions.
So today's experiment focuses on regulating your emotions. You'll be watching pictures on a computer monitor to elicit either negative emotions like fear, sadness, and disgust, or pictures that elicit very little emotion at all. Does that make sense?
Davidson has studied the brain responses of a large number of subjects with a variety of temperaments.
Okay. Okay.
The general idea is that people differ quite dramatically in how they respond to life's slings and arrows. Some people are very vulnerable in response to life stresses. They show a very big and prolonged response. And other people are much more resilient. We have been very interested in understanding what the brain mechanisms are that are associated with those differences. And most importantly, how we can change people to make their emotional styles more resilient, more beneficial, more positive. In our culture, we have not given the training of the mind, and particularly training emotion, sufficient credence. We have not really put it to the test. And imagine if someone spent as much time training their mind, particularly training emotion, as a person whose avocation was golf spent on the golf course. We know that when we practice on a regular basis, our skills can be improved.
Buddhist monks spend their lives training their minds. This rigorous discipline can produce dramatic results. Using only the power of thought, this group of monks is able to significantly raise their body temperatures and steam dry freezing cold towels with their body heat. They do this during an advanced type of meditation called Tomo Yoga, an amazing physiological change in the body produced entirely by the mind.
These individuals one can think of as kind of the Olympic athletes of mind training.
Barry Curzon is an ordained Buddhist monk. An American, he's lived in India for almost 20 years. Several monks, with the support of the Dalai Lama, have agreed to take part in these experiments, studying emotions and the brain.
Every one of the participants in this research study that we're doing has spent a minimum of 10,000 hours training their mind. And by studying this group of experts, we can see the most extreme kind of changes in the brain that may be produced through this kind of mental training.
Very
can you start focus attention meditation?
Meditation is a word which would be akin to sports. There are lots of different kinds of sports. There are lots of different kinds of meditation.
Can you start to meditate on compassion now?
Davidson can actually measure changes in a monk's brain as he focuses his mind on specific emotions.
Neutral states.
Davidson uses both the EEG, which detects electrical patterns in the brain, and the functional MRI, which pinpoints which areas of the brain are active.
Okay, Barry, we're going to start the first meditation on compassion.
Okay. This kind of meditation and other similar meditations are really methods to train the regulation of emotion.
First scan real short, just 10 seconds. Just hold real nice and still.
With his understanding of the effect of meditation on the brain, Davidson set out to apply his findings to the general population. In one trial, he used 2 matched groups of volunteers. Only one group was trained to meditate. After 2 months, he gave both groups a flu vaccine. He hypothesized that meditation would strengthen the immune system, an effect he could determine by measuring the number of antibodies in the different blood samples.
On the basis of really a meager amount of meditation training, there was a demonstrable effect on the body. What was particularly interesting is that those individuals in the meditation group who showed the biggest change in their brain were also the people that showed the biggest change in their immune system. They showed the biggest response to the flu shot. And so they appeared to be closely associated, suggesting that the meditation was producing a kind of coherent set of changes in both the brain as well as the body. The core hypothesis is that things like positive attitude or positive emotions should not be regarded as traits which are immutable, which cannot be changed. Happiness and other beneficial qualities of the mind and the body should be regarded as skills. This is extremely important for the public to know about because it is directly supported by modern understandings of the brain.
In the science of mind-body research, this is a new frontier.
Is there a way of saying what you get out of meditation? What?
Tears of joy, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's really hard work. It doesn't go well, of course. Sometimes it's ecstatic. The kind of joy that comes sometimes from meditation is different than anything else that I've experienced in my life. And what comes up kind of with that automatically, and I feel it now, is tremendous gratitude for my teacher and teachers. And a wish that others could have the same experience.
Matthew Potter is on his way to another session with Dr. Walco.
This is looking suspiciously like the start to a driver's ed film.
Don't make me laugh. I gotta concentrate.
That's why I'm not too eager to take driving lessons, because I don't want to deal with traffic.
Well, I'm going out there. All right, go, 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 go. You've been driving since you were 5.
Yeah, without 50,000 other wheelchairs in the way.
Matthew has practiced hypnosis techniques every day for the last week and is now able to considerably lower his pain.
Clearly, the strategy that you did get into last time was the dimmer switch, correct?
Dimmer switch is good. That works. I like dimmer switch. Yes.
Now here comes the ultimate test. Matt, ready? all the way down. Totally relaxed.
In this session, Dr. Wolko has taught Matthew how to go into a hypnotic state instantly.
Matt, stay in the state that you're in, but I need to ask you something. Are you able to snap your own fingers?
No.
Okay. Okay, it's not a problem. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gotcha.
What's this?
All right. We need to give you some specific strategy that'll work as quickly for you as my finger snap. I've got options. We can use your own fingers. Matt's the kind of kid who wants to be able to master this. He really wants to be able to control more of what's going on with his own body and be able to go through transitions through the course of his day in a way that is less disruptive to him. Like just have them together, move them apart, and that's going to be your trigger.
Matthew will learn to enter the hypnotic state on his own.
The sense I have is that he wants to master his pain. He doesn't want it to master him. Okay, pal. Index fingers together, look down at your fingers, take them apart. Outstanding. Deeper.
People often will think, if I just do enough imagery long enough and hard enough, or enough meditation, I'll never get sick, or I'll cure my cancer, or, I mean, that's not the goal. I mean, the goal is to create the optimal situation so your body can do what it can do in conjunction with the medicine.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. This is kicking.
Tammy has just developed an infection. She's avoided this complication for 4 weeks, far longer than the average woman in her high-risk situation. She must have her baby delivered immediately by C-section. The baby will be premature, but now has an excellent chance of being healthy.
Physicians really need to understand that the patient's state of mind is going to be very, very important. What is going on in that individual's brain influences the outcome. The data is there, and it's certainly key to the appropriate practice of medicine.
So knowing that the mind and the body are connected at many, many levels helps us physicians treat patients differently. We'll say, yeah, well, you know, I can see how an emotion can affect health. Therefore, let's incorporate this into the way we take care of patients.
Okay. Are you okay?
Oh, yeah.
You just have to breathe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just breathe.
Trying to stay up while I fall asleep.
No, but just breathe.
A little bit of heaviness here in your chest? Okay.
No.
Sometimes that's normal.
Oh. Oh.
Tammy, that's your baby being born.
Oh.
Oh, the bottom half of him is beautiful.
You see him? You see him? Oh, God, is he okay?
Yeah.
He's looking all around. Oh,
congratulations.
Science can inform a tremendous amount of what we do in medicine, but I guess it can never explain it all. You know, we can never understand the mystery of the human being, the human body, the human soul, the way those two interface. It's not predictable.
It's a miracle.
I know.
And for me, that's part of the beauty of it, and part of the joy of being a physician is to be in partnership with that mystery. Be in partnership with a human being, not just trying to fight the disease.
2 pounds, 6 ounces.
What you want to name him? What do he look like?
Julian Eugene.
Julian, are you sure?
I'm positive.
The whole person will always be a mystery and will always require the art of medicine, not just the science.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Baby looks good.
He does?
Crying, yep.
Is he breathing?
He is. He's breathing on his own right now.
Oh, God.
Soon, Matthew will be leaving home and going to college. He's learned to control his pain so that the pain no longer controls his life. Michael Gulen healed rapidly after his surgery, but is still on the long road to recovery. Helene has succeeded in mastering her pain and is now back in school full-time. Even with the best therapies, some people may never be completely cured. But they and we have the ability to discover and strengthen a resilience within, using the extraordinary power of the mind.
Life as we know it has now changed. Julian, you're home.
Ladies and gentlemen, the graduating class of Ridgewood High.
I took 2 steps on a plane, fell backwards, I guess dead, and they restarted my heart with a defib.
More important than knowing what kind of disease the patient has is knowing what kind of patient has the disease.
A lot of people say, well, just give me the drugs and pass the bacon and eggs. But just taking the drugs doesn't get to the root of the problem.
This is all about choice in medicine, giving people choice that fits their lives.
Next on The New Medicine.
Hello, I'm Dana Reeve. During my husband Christopher Reeve's rehabilitation, and now undergoing my own treatment for lung cancer, I've been very privileged to work with many wonderful doctors and caregivers, and we've had access to the most advanced, high-tech medical care available anywhere in the world. I owe a lot to modern Western medicine. But it's also become clear to me that high-tech medicine, with all its wonders, often leaves out that all-important human touch. For many, going to the doctor or to the hospital has become an assembly line of tests and procedures, and often, lost in this examination of the heart and the kidneys and the blood chemistry, are the deeper needs of the person suffering from the illness. In the first program in this series, we saw some of the science behind the mind-body connection, how people's mental state, their level of stress, and their capacity for hope can have a great influence on their ability to overcome illness. In this program, we're going to see some practitioners of a new kind of medicine, caregivers who take advantage of all the best that Western medicine has to offer, but who also understand that technology alone is not enough.
Dr. Davis, telephone please. Dr. Davis, telephone please.
Come in.
Hi, how are you doing? My name's Peter. I think I talked to you yesterday about your son.
Yes.
It's good to see you again.
You too.
So, Miss Wilson, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. I talked to the oncologist yesterday too, and he spoke to me something about palliative care. Since the medicine's not working, there's really nothing else that can be done. So I talked to Josh, and we know we can't make the medicine work.
Right.
So we, he's a brave kid. tells me not to worry.
Mm-hmm. This has obviously been a difficult 3 years for you. I'm sorry that we're having to go this route and that your son's not going to make it.
You know, when the cancer came back the first time, I might come to this. But I just want him to be as comfortable as possible. You know, I don't want him to be any extra pain.
Ms. Wilson, not her real name, is talking to a third-year medical student at Drexel University in Philadelphia.
It's going to be hard.
A casual observer might be surprised to learn that it is not Ms. Wilson who is under extreme stress in this situation, but the medical student.
I don't want to suffer, be in extra pain, if he doesn't have to be.
Ms. Wilson is an actress, one of several hired by the university to train students in some highly critical skills.
So I pray a lot.
How to talk to, and perhaps more importantly, how to listen to their patients.
I'm sorry that you're crying. It's obviously difficult.
Oh, man.
Do you want to talk about the palliative care? And
Oh, yeah.
He gets it. He intellectually gets it, but
He's trying to do the right thing.
so palliative care.
But he's not thinking it's her.
Yeah, it's like a theoretical situation. He's like,
and his body language before, and it's better now.
Yeah. He's saying really heavy stuff to her, and he has to have respect for that.
Miss Wilson, hi. Nice to see you again. I'm sorry we have to see you under circumstances like this. How's everything going for you? I know it must be hard.
It is. But yesterday I met with Josh's oncologist. The medicine's not working. There's really nothing else that can be done.
Well, I'll be available for you, for the family, for Josh. Just to comfort him, to talk with him, if he has any questions, any concerns.
He really gets it.
He does.
He really gets it. He's doing a really good job here.
He's not just talking at her.
No, and he's responding well to her tears. I mean, handing her Kleenex, but not panicking. He's really doing a great job.
Yeah, he's with her. And he's interested in what she feels.
Yeah.
He keeps asking about her situation. It's great.
Because I know with your two daughters, I'm sure they're all involved in this as well. How are they reacting to this?
I hope he never changes. You know, if I ever get really
I know
sick.
medical school can beat it out of it.
If I get really sick, I'm going to Tony.
So it can be done for all those doctors who say it can't be done. He's doing it.
Please begin the next encounter now.
On graduation, these students will have been taught the life-saving techniques of high-tech medicine. But equally important are the skills they're practicing here. Now, for the first time, all students taking their National Medical Board exams must be tested not only in subjects like anatomy and biochemistry, but also with exercises like these. This is the foundation of a new movement in patient care, integrating advanced technology with what has sometimes been called the softer side of medicine.
If you go back to some of the great pictures of doctors in, say, the 16th, 17th, 18th century, like Jan Steen, the great Dutch painter of the 17th century, he's portraying doctors in the home of the patient. And there you can see the whole domestic setting of care, the sensitivity, the sensibility, the attention to emotion and to family and to the illness experience as a part of a life. That disappears with the development of technologies in medicine.
We, as a healthcare system, have kind of lost our way a little bit over the last 2 decades by becoming so enamored of technology and specialization that we've lost sight of the individual as an individual, a very complex entity. Many people who went into the field of medicine in my generation, generations after mine, have always had this image that for every disease there's an underlying cause. We need to find it and fix it and effect a cure. And that's victory. Everything else is defeat. That is a delusion. Curing is a relatively unusual event where you have a problem and you make it totally go away. We love to do that, and we ought to do it whenever we can. But if we can't do that, we ought to understand that we are engaged in healing. And healing involves caring. And caring is at the root of the practice of medicine and at the root of the physician-patient relationship.
Tuesday or Thursday would work best for me. How about Thursday morning? Does that work for you? Yeah. 9 o'clock? Okay. And Marissa will probably be with me also. I'll double check with her on her calendar, but we'll come by and see if we can do some business.
Bill Fink, age 56.
You want to?
For almost 30 years, he's had the most advanced treatment medical science has to offer.
I think this one's healthier, and since it's healthier than that one, I'll take 12 of these.
Okay.
It has kept him alive through a triple bypass at 34, a quadruple at 41, and 2 heart attacks that nearly killed him.
And then after having a cardiac arrest on an airplane, my wife and I were on our way to Hawaii for our anniversary in 2002. 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I took 2 steps on a plane, fell backwards, I guess dead, and they restarted my heart with a defib.
A highly successful businessman, Bill now claims he's retired. But he remains involved with several of his companies, helps out with his daughter's gift basket business, and devotes many hours a week to volunteer work in prison ministry. In his spare moments, he supervises the construction of a new church.
And I think he said it was 250 seats is what he got in there. Does it say there somewhere?
I don't see that on there.
It may be on the other sheet.
But Bill may not live to see his projects completed. He has severe angina, and now has an arterial blockage that cannot be operated on. His heart disease is so advanced that he can hardly walk up a flight of stairs.
Hi, I just got out of the meeting with Branch 521.
Bill is a poster child for modern high-tech medicine at its very best, and its very worst. For over 30 years, surgical procedures and a vast array of pills have done a very good job of keeping him alive, but a very poor job of keeping him healthy.
Did you do anything? Did you make any changes? Did you?
Well, after each of the bypasses, like after the first one, I followed Pritikin for probably 10 months very strongly, and then slowly just gradually got back into the bad habits and stuff.
Bill is soon to experience a new kind of medicine. He is entering a 3-month program at the Scripps Center in San Diego. It follows the principles of what is called integrative medicine, focusing on the whole person, not just the diseased heart. The head of the program is Dr. Mimi Guarneri.
For me as a cardiologist, before I started practicing with an integrative medicine practice, what I was able to do within the confines of my office was to put in a stent, which is a wonderful thing to be able to do. Talk to someone for a bit about nutrition and exercise. But the difference with integrative medicine is to be able to take someone, whether they've had a life crisis or whether they're just looking to prevent a life crisis, and be able to put them in an environment that's going to address all of the issues, where they're going to have someone focusing on their nutrition, their exercise, what supplements should they be taking, and also what's going on with my family, what's going on with my kids, what are your risk factors, and what can we do as a team.
And I had been involved in prison ministry, but from that point onward, I just kind of felt that's where the Lord wanted me to work. So I started, questioning whether or not if I did everything right diet-wise, would it be possible to reverse the damage and also, get off some of this medication.
Right.
So
that's how we get to here.
Yeah, here, and also I said, there was 4 other things. My father died when he was 57.
Right.
I'm getting close to that, and and a realization of what it was like to not have a father for all those years, and also my kids being raised without having a grandfather.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to do the same thing to my kids and stuff.
Right.
But I have 3 new grandkids on the way, and I'd like to. They're all due in October, so I already bought a triple stroller, so I'm all set. So.
This program, called Healing Hearts, will offer Bill a full menu of techniques for healthy living. He will attend lectures in the functioning of the heart, work out in an exercise program, learn to shop for and cook healthy food, attend support groups and stress management classes and sessions with a psychologist, classes in music and yoga and spirituality.
So is this clear? You have 8 servings of starch.
Yep.
It's like a budget.
The hope is that Bill will find from the many choices offered here a program that will really work for him.
50% of the causes of mortality in this country are related to modifiable behaviors. Smoking, eating, sedentary lifestyles, all of those and more. Behaviors are very hard to change. And if you just say to a patient, quit smoking, will you? That will be a little bit effective, but it's much more effective if you know what their worries are, what their concerns are, what their values are, what's getting in the way. Human beings are at once biological, psychological, and social beings. That's how we've evolved. That's who we are. And if there's a disturbance in any one of those aspects of being, it affects every aspect of being.
There isn't a formula that just is applied to everyone. You know, there is no one size fits all. And where people are in life, what their belief system is, how much they're willing to potentially undergo and suffer in order to live, these vary greatly from individual to individual. Partnership means working with the patient to figure out what is the best treatment for that individual. Without that partnership, you're basically driving blind.
My story is about something that made me change my way of thinking about doctors and patients. I was always the obnoxiously healthy person. Always. I never got a cold. I never got the flu. I do remember having measles, but just never got anything. So I knew that a woman of a certain age should have mammograms, but there was a lot going on in my life, and so I let about 3 years go by, and I didn't have one. Anyway, I went for the mammogram, and the doctor in charge said, "Do you see these star-shaped cells?" I thought, star-shaped cells, that doesn't sound good. So I called up my OBGYN, and she said, "Well, why don't you let me make an appointment for you with a breast surgeon?" I went to the appointment and did what everybody does, went into the little room, put on my little paper schmata, was standing there in my paper schmata, examining the whole room, thinking that if I took notice of everything in the room, surely everything would be all right. And the door flies open, and the doctor comes in, and my memory is that before the doctor introduced herself, she said to me, "You have not one lesion, but 2. The effect of it was devastating. I suddenly felt demoted absolutely from being a healthy person to basically not knowing what was going on. We went into her office, and she laid out very clearly the options for the surgery. What she presented was very clear, but it was very simplified, which for me was not helpful. I didn't feel as though... I felt it was improper to ask the questions I wanted to ask because she was a busy woman, and beyond that, she scared me. I think I was trying to understand as much as I could and stay in control as much as I could, so I couldn't really factor in what was going on, which was that I didn't want this person to be my surgeon. I didn't want this person to be my doctor. And everything that was coming out of me was, how can I please you? Being the good patient. Oh, yes, I get that. You know, like, oh, this patient is really asking all the smart questions. Whereas what I was really feeling was I was shattered.
Physicians' words are important. They have tremendous power to heal or to harm. So what I hope we're teaching our students is an appreciation for the importance of communication, an appreciation for the importance of expressing, their caring.
Understanding the rights, privileges, and responsibilities of the studies and profession upon which we now enter, we solemnly pledge to uphold the following principles in all we undertake.
We pledge to respect the autonomy and humanity of those entrusting us with their well-being, and promise to be selfless in our decisions concerning patient care.
Duke University. This ceremony, in which first-year medical students are presented with white coats, is a recent innovation. It is now performed in almost every medical school across the country. The students recite a pledge written by themselves, based on the ancient Greek Hippocratic Oath.
I will respect all members of the healthcare community and engage in open-minded dialogue in pursuit of the best course of treatment and care.
I will maintain reverence for perspectives on health different from my own.
When our students enter medical school, they are starry-eyed, they are caring, they are optimistic. They appear to be entering medicine for all the right reasons, really wanting to improve the life of others. There is a transformation that occurs in medical school when students become much more cynical and tend to lose this optimism that the power is going to be there to be able to do all the things that you dream you're going to do.
In the first 2 years of medical school, when physicians are, even if they're getting some contact with patients, the medical students are very distant from what the world of medicine is. Then they go in their clinical years onto the wards where they're trained by residents, basically, who are survivors. I was there. I know what it means to be a survivor, spending all these hours during the week working so hard and having so many patients and running around between tasks. And that resident is cutting corners. And that resident teaches to the student what I call the hidden, or in some ways, the reverse curriculum.
The hidden curriculum is what we don't teach our students, but what they learn anyway by observing residents and attending physicians on the wards.
Okay. Dr. Dennis Novak sees a large part of his job as countering the influence of the hidden curriculum.
I mean, the wards can be so busy and chaotic that the interns and residents want to just treat the disease, get the patient better, and send them out. So they go in to see a patient and be abrupt and not stay to listen to the patient's concerns or questions, and just do some false reassurance, and then leave. And so they give a negative example to the students. So what we're doing in first and second year, and what we're doing in an exercise like today, is trying to immunize students against the hidden curriculum. So come on in and introduce yourselves. This is Mr. Triplett. Go ahead and...
Hi, Mr. Triplett. I'm Sanel.
After working with actor patients, these first-year medical students are encountering the real thing.
And Melissa's going to get started.
I'm going to talk to you first, if that's okay.
Fine.
How are you?
Pretty good. Well, hanging in.
Obviously, you've been better.
Right. Yes, yes.
So can I ask you about what brought you to the hospital?
Pneumonia and irregular rhythm heart.
Communication with patients is perhaps as important as medical knowledge. It has a direct impact on whether the patient is going to get better or not. So we want our students to learn how to use their words in ways that empower the patients, that comfort the patients, that help patients heal.
Some people might feel like, well, this is kind of the touchy-feely, soft side of medicine. Why pay attention to it when, what's important is getting the x-ray and giving the antibiotic? But it turns out that this thing is really important in many ways. Because first of all, about 75% of all diagnoses in primary care are made on the history alone. So even the technical side is to some degree embedded in the human.
You haven't really drank or smoked, or?
No,
And you don't take
not
any?
no, I don't use tobacco. It's crazy. It costs too much.
The time which these students spend with patients will become a precious commodity when they begin practicing medicine. Insurance companies and Medicare pay for treatment, not talk. The average amount of time a physician spends per patient visit is currently only 6 minutes. Little time for proper diagnosis, little time for empathy or effective preventive care.
This is not the way we ought to be practicing healthcare. It's not compassionate, and it doesn't make any medical sense, and it doesn't make any economic sense. A physician who takes care of patients with diabetes, for example, virtually gets no reimbursement for sitting for a moment and instructing the individual what they could do to prevent the side effects of diabetes. It's virtually not reimbursed, barely. However, if that person goes on to destroy their kidneys from diabetes, it is easy to get reimbursement for hemodialysis. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Your living situation, are you married or do you live alone?
I have a long friendship relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
The patient, in a sense, is the expert on the illness. They live with the illness. So it's important for the doctor to listen to the story of illness, to first solicit it, get it, hear it, permit it to be said, and then to understand it, to appreciate it, to make sense of it. Supposing you have a man with diabetes who becomes so profoundly depressed with his diabetes and suicidally depressed and will not participate in its care, and you're wondering, now what's going on here? Let's get a psychiatrist in to give an antidepressant. But then when the psychiatrist comes in and speaks to the man and gets the story that the doctor should have gotten first, it turns out that this is a guy whose father had diabetes, whose grandfather had diabetes, whose grandfather died from the complications of diabetes, let's say peripheral vascular disease, and his leg being taken off first below the knee, then above the knee, then his other leg, and then dying of complications of infection, and his father going blind from diabetes retinopathy, and having kidney disease and having to go on to dialysis. And when this man is told that he has diabetes, he completely falls apart. You need that story to understand who that man is, what that illness experience is, and how you're going to deal with him. In the absence of that story, you're practicing veterinary medicine.
When I was about 15, I became ill with a disease that has been my companion, my life companion, really. For the past 51 years, I developed Crohn's disease. And at that time, a group of people in white coats gathered around me and my family, and they told us the facts. There's no known cure for Crohn's disease. No one even knew what caused Crohn's disease. That I could expect to have multiple surgeries on my intestine in my life, and that I also would probably be dead by the time I was 40. And it was a time of great despair for me and for my family. And I made a lot of life decisions on this, decisions about marriage, decisions about having kids. I want to start something that I knew I would never be able to finish. Right? And I think my interest in healing grew out of this experience. I haven't been dead the past 27 years. And I think if only one of these physicians had said to me, one of the people around me had said to me, you know, there might be something in you that can grow past the obstacle of this disease. Even though the disease is not curable, you might be able to find a way to live a good life, even though it isn't going to be an easy life. There might be something that could be called even the will to live in you. And you might be able to find it and strengthen it and find others who can help you to strengthen it. It would have made a huge difference to me. But nobody mentioned it because will to live, it isn't under W in Harrison's textbook of internal medicine. You only discover something like this by observing life, itself. And healing is about the will to live. It's about collaborating with someone, with something in someone that they may not even be aware is there. Strengthening it, calling it forth.
Over the last 30 years, medical science has made huge advances in dealing with heart disease. Statins and beta blockers, surgery and stents have kept Bill Fink alive. But this high-tech medicine has never been effective at making him an active player in maintaining his own health.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. How are you feeling on there?
Great.
How far you been going?
This?
Yeah.
One of the things we've lost in medicine is the partnership between patients and physicians. We evolved in medicine a when you break down, I'll fix you approach. Instead of sitting with someone and saying, let's take a look at why you're here to begin with, or what are your risk factors, and what can we do as a team?
Bill is now in the 10th week of the program. He has lost 15 pounds, but he is struggling to stay on course. On a recent holiday, he succumbed to temptation.
And unfortunately, in the breakfast buffet, they had this one big thing of Eggs Benedict, so here you open, and I've always loved Eggs Benedict, and here's a whole tray of them, so put 2 Eggs Benedict on my plate, and a couple little pieces of bacon. I don't usually eat bacon and stuff, but I ate my, 2 Eggs Benedict, and then the next morning we went down and I did the same thing again.
Keep going.
It's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Unless you have someone who's just a total able to motivate themselves, and that's the very rare person. Most of us, simple humans, need support, need people encouraging us. That's what the partnership is about.
Speak in between.
But you do this in class a lot, right?
So I think that's
That's
good.
what we're learning. We're learning the recipes. I've had 3 cooking classes now, so.
Bill has a very, very strong spiritual background. He sees his sudden death experience and his survival from that as a message that he needs to do more work. And his work is in his prison ministry. And that is a major motivator for him.
Okay, you're making us soup, honey.
For other people, it may be their family. It may be their children. It may be their grandchildren. But for Bill, I believe that this is an important piece to the puzzle. And if I didn't know him with the kind of intakes that we do and the kind of way we take care of people, that might be a piece of information that would be not even given to me or swept under the rug.
Father, we just thank you so much for keeping our family healthy and for watching over the 3 little grandchildren that are soon to be, Father. And we just thank you so much for them and for their health. And we thank you so much, too, for this meal, Father, and for allowing us to learn how to cook and eat healthy. We just thank you so much in your son's name. Amen.
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 Okay.
Well, it's too bad we can't eat like Mother, who lived to be 100. She fried everything in bacon grease.
I know.
A person has to want to live. And, life tastes better than steak.
Made some good stuff today, too.
So it really becomes this bigger issue, which is what's important to me, what's my purpose here, What are the things that I value? And how can I feel good in the process?
It's really, it's good.
It's good.
It's
It's
very
very
good. It's just different. It just takes a little bit getting to used to. But I like it.
Yeah.
William Osler, one of the heroes of modern medicine from the beginning of the 20th century, once said, more important than knowing what kind of disease the patient has is knowing what kind of patient has the disease. And that's so true. The patient's disease is what disease they have, what pathology they have, what can we see under a microscope, what can we understand from a laboratory test. But the patient's illness is all that the patient brings, all the meaning that the patient brings to their symptoms. It's the experience of the disease.
I was in shock and in grief at the same time. No way did I want to have a mastectomy. I wanted to try and keep the breast if I could. The doctor said very clearly, well, if it were me, I would probably have a double mastectomy. Whereupon I almost passed out. Which again made me feel that there was something, there was a program, there was an agenda that she knew best, that I had, if I was at all smart, I would do what she was saying. So after I left, I got in the car and I called a friend of mine who's a doctor. I described the interview and said that she had indicated that there was really no need to consult another surgeon or get a second opinion. And I heard him laugh. He said, oh, she said that, did she? And then I thought, oh, maybe everything's going to be a little okay. And then my friend said something which was much more instrumental. He said, how do you feel about being with this doctor? And I was quiet because I didn't really want to think about how I felt about being with this doctor. And he said, it's very important. It's extremely important for you to work with a doctor that you choose, that you feel comfortable with. He said it's important clinically. It's important to how you do. He said it's important for you as a person. And then he said, you need a doctor who makes you feel empowered and smart. You don't need a doctor who makes you feel passive and dumb. And for me, that was absolutely true. And that was what I was feeling, passive and dumb. And when he said that, I realized this was a big deal for me, thinking about this issue of who I wanted to be my doctor.
People can take charge of their lives and their health, and the role of health professionals is to create environments in which people can do that.
¿Tiene duele aquí también o mucho aquí?
No, más me duele.
Más aquí. Okay, so the pain is here.
And whatever that takes, it might be the right diagnosis, it might be medications, but it also could just be letting them know they're not alone in the world, or helping them find a way to manage the many stressors in their life.
Dr. Ellen Beck is co-founder of a group of student-run free clinics in San Diego. Here, medical students, pharmacy students, and students of Asian medicine, supervised by volunteer doctors, dentists, and nurses, all work together to provide medical care for communities of people who do not qualify for health insurance.
I'm listening to make sure you don't have any heart murmurs that are related to the infection in your jaw, but you don't. So your heart sounds perfect, so that's a good thing.
These clinics serve a very different clientele from the Healing Hearts program on the other side of town. But like Healing Hearts, Dr. Beck also calls her program integrative.
Yeah, right about in there.
Right in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It gets a little tight.
Integrative medicine is not something that should only be a luxury for the wealthy. It should be the right of every person in America to have access to health care that addresses the needs of the mind, the body, and the spirit.
Well, see, I used to medicate myself, but I've been real good the past 2 years.
Good for you. Like, you mean a little over-medicate?
No, like illegal medicating.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Let's go straight
I don't
there.
do that anymore. Plus, I stopped smoking February 17th last year.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Well
it's
done.
almost a year.
So you're a role model. That's fantastic.
And I did the medical program upstairs.
Oh, you did? You did our Stop Smoking program? And
Yeah, but I didn't take anything. I just stopped cold turkey.
Well, I want to shake your head again, but you have all these needles in you. So. The people who come to the UCSD student-run free clinic project have many needs that we try to address. If a person needs a medication, if they need to be sure that they don't have high blood pressure, if their diabetes needs to be treated so that they don't have to lose a leg, of course that's what we do. But as far as I'm concerned, that isn't enough.
Tenemos un grupo de apoyo aquí y es un grupo para platicar, apoyar, lo hacen diferentes cosas.
Health is not simply the absence of disease, but the presence of a state of well-being. So I just believe that we need to train that and teach that, and that the physician sees that as their essential role. Now, within that, there might be Western medicine and diagnosis and treatment, and there may be these myriad of other approaches. And I just see that these integrative approaches and these complementary approaches strengthen what we do. For example, a homeless person. Where can a homeless person lie down peacefully and quietly and receive massage, for example, and feel safe being touched? On the street, every touch is usually an attack or an intrusion. You know, it's dangerous to be touched on the street. So here, a homeless person can lie down in a warm setting and receive healing. As far as I'm concerned, this isn't luxury. This is what healthcare used to be and should return to.
Those okay?
A key ingredient of integrative medicine programs is a readiness to incorporate alternative medicine techniques alongside conventional Western medicine. In the case of Bill Fink, practices such as yoga and meditation give him effective tools to manage his heart disease by lowering his level of stress.
Just follow the wave of your breath. And then as you breathe, softening any unnecessary tension that you discover.
A lot of people say, well, just give me the drugs. Give me the drugs and pass the bacon and eggs, right? So, but just taking the drugs doesn't get to the root of the problem.
Just breathing in, just drawing in a sense of calmness and ease with the in-breath.
If your cholesterol is 140 and you're angry and screaming and yelling, that's as big a risk factor as having your cholesterol, maybe more, as having your cholesterol be 250. But if we take that person and we put them into classes like meditation and yoga, it gives them more power and control so that they feel like, I know how to respond to this now. Now if I feel anxious, I know what I can do to lower my blood pressure. I now know how to do deep breathing. I know how to stop and slow down. So you give people the tools that give them then control.
At NIH, the National Institutes of Health, we are pushing some of the frontiers of medicine, if you will, and bringing rigorous science to questions that the public has had for many years. We're beginning to answer those questions, determine what's safe, what's not safe. Most importantly, determine what's effective and find out why.
The NIH is currently conducting rigorous scientific trials on hundreds of alternative and complementary therapies. One landmark study established the effectiveness of acupuncture in reducing the symptoms of arthritis of the knee. After 14 weeks, patients receiving this treatment had 40% less pain and markedly improved mobility.
I am witness to a change in the culture. 10 years ago, I don't think the Cleveland Clinic would have dreamed of having a center for integrative medicine. Now, more and more physicians are referring their patients to us because they know that those mind-body connections are there. There's physiology behind them. We can measure the production of chemicals. We can measure the activity of the brain. We know that this stuff is happening.
Integrative medicine means being able to offer to patients a full array of choices from conventional medicine, but to be able to add those complementary and alternative strategies where we have scientific evidence that they work and that they're safe. This is all about choice in medicine, giving people choice and partnering with them in selecting a patient care plan that will fit for them.
Some of these approaches, we don't know yet whether or not they're going to make a difference in the actual clinical parameters of the disease. But we're pretty certain with many of them that they help somebody's quality of life. That's the true quality care, helping somebody take charge of their life.
When I was 27 years old, I had the initial surgery of my 8 surgeries, and a large part of my intestine was removed, and an ileostomy was created for me, which means that I wear a little bag attached to me, an appliance, which collects my stomach juices, and the diseased part of my intestine was actually removed, right? And in those days, this many years ago, 40 years ago, this was not a common surgery. It is a common surgery now, but it was not a common surgery. And I survived it. It took a long time for them to do this, and I survived it. I was in the hospital for a week, and every surgeon in the entire hospital came to see me, and to see indeed I had survived this surgery. There's only one problem with it. I was a 27-year-old single woman, and I couldn't live with it. And I became so profoundly depressed that I was suicidal. And I started saving the sleeping pills and the pain pills that were given to me every day, and thinking I would wait until I was discharged from the hospital. I would go home and take them all, because I felt completely separated from anything feminine or elegant from all of the women my age. Now, in this week that I was in the hospital, I did not know how to care for my appliance. And a group of experts called enterostomal therapists came daily to change my appliance for me and help me, right? These were all young women, the same age as I. And they would come into the room with their white coats, and they'd put on a mask, a gown, an apron, and gloves. Then they would remove my appliance, replace it with a fresh one, take off the mask, the gown, the apron, the gloves, and go to the sink in my room and very carefully wash their hands. This was not giving me a good feeling about the radical change in my body. It humiliated me. And it just made me feel ashamed. But towards the end of the week, a woman came in to do this for me, and she was late. It was almost 5 o'clock. She was dressed as if she was going to go out on a date. Another person my age, right? She's wearing heels and stockings and a twin set. Those were the days, you know. And she very pleasantly asked me, you know, if she could help me. And when I said yes, she went to the sink in my room and washed her hands before she touched me. And she was not wearing, you know, a white coat. She did not put on a mask or gown. In this very natural way, I think she commented on the elegance of my nightie, right? We began talking. And she took an appliance from my bedside table and put it on me, removed the old one, put it on, with her bare hands. And you know, I was a young doctor at the time. The first thought I had in my mind was how unprofessional. But she kept talking to me, and she was close enough to me I could smell her perfume, and she was wearing pink nail polish, and her hands were very gentle, and suddenly I could feel something come up in me, and I just knew that this was not going to be easy, but I could find a way to do this. I could make this all right. Even something like this was going to be all right. Right? Now, this woman did not give me back my intestine. Medical science can't do this, even today. What she gave me back was my life. Not because she knew how to cure me, but because she was willing to touch me.
Every patient comes to a doctor primarily looking for one thing, and that is hope. Hope is really central in the experience of illness and in the path to healing. People often confuse hope with optimism. An optimist says, everything's going to turn out just fine. Well, you know, we're adults, and we know that things often don't turn out just fine. In fact, they turn out very poorly. Hope is different. Hope is clear-eyed. It sees all the reality that you face, all the obstacles, all the problems, all the potential for failure. But through that, it sees as well a possible path to a better future. It's not guaranteed, but it's possible. Healing means that you're made whole again, that you emerge from this experience of illness not just with your tumor shrunken, which is certainly a major goal, but with you being restored as a person.
I was lucky enough to meet a surgeon that I really liked right away. There were big differences in my talk with her than with the first surgeon. I didn't feel a time pressure. I felt free to ask stupid questions. I had a lot of stupid questions. I felt free to ask them. She said, you know, you don't have to make your mind up right away. She said, this is a very complicated situation, and you need time to absorb it. And she said, it's not just the information. It's not just the percentages and the this and the that. She said, it's the emotion of it. You need time to absorb it. I just felt returned to the land of the human beings. That's really what happened. She didn't whitewash things, you know, it's not as though, oh, everything's fine, and it wasn't like that. It was just that you want to try what they call breast conservation therapy. That's a very sensible, perfectly good decision at this point. I don't see anything wrong with it, and I'm willing to listen to you and understand what you want and what's important to you. So I felt that even though it was hard to go through this, it wasn't, because I felt as though she and I were understanding each other, and I had trust in her. And we worked out the schedule so that I was able to go see my daughter in France before radiation started. And she said to me before I went to France, she said, really enjoy it, really enjoy it. And I did. So that's my story. I think that's pretty much the important stuff in it.
Bill has completed his 3 months at Scripps. His cholesterol has dropped so much that he no longer needs medication to control it. He has lost weight, and his angina has been significantly reduced. Integrative medicine, with its extensive doctor-patient interaction and large support staff, may seem very expensive, the last thing our overburdened healthcare system can afford. But the entire Healing Hearts program costs considerably less than 1 day in a hospital. Programs like these point to a possible future for medical care.
Oh, man. Great, I dropped a piece of paper that shows where we're going, so this way, kids. You're 3 West 12.
What I hope for in the future of medicine is a comfort level with an expanded humanistic model where all parts of the being, the person, the mind, the body, and the spirit are all addressed, and that every physician at every stage of training and in every specialty reconnects with why they became a physician in the first place, which was to make a difference, and allows their humanity to enter into the encounter with the patient.
There's no going back, and we're going to head into a world that's going to be dominated by technology to a greater degree even than we have today. And this is enormously important, but there's no reason why we can't be as humanly sophisticated as we're technologically sophisticated. Physicians have the opportunity to engage with patients in an experience from which both have a sense of reaffirmed humanity. That life is important, not just for the repairing of our broken bones and the fixing of our broken hearts, but because we deal with what is really serious, what is most at stake for us, what matters most in living.
The New Medicine continues at PBS Online. Find extended interviews, healthcare tips, and valuable resources. Visit pbs.org.
To order a copy of the New Medicine book, call 1-800-247-6553.